Well, there's the patient. So for the moment, I've got this glued up. Flipping this board over, I find not only was this filled in before and not with wood glue apparently, and that all needs to be fixed. And there's also one here, the pretty sizable old hole there, so maybe some of this can be filled in by with some toothpicks as I glue it again and give some more integrity, and then re-drill a hole. So filled in, instead of trying to squeeze this in, I've filled it in with some toothpicks and some of these holes as well. And so now it looks like you've got these filled in, that crack's being filled in. I use my little vacuum cleaner to suck the glue in. These are being filled in, and we're letting them dry all along here. And the other ones along there have all been filled in. So all the holes are being filled in, all the cracks that we're going to mess with have been done. And then after this, it's just sanding the things down, making it nice, and then getting on the other side the oxalic acid and seeing what we can do there, and practicing a bit with that, and then before getting on to the big one. So I'm just putting a coat of stripper on here because I just don't know what's on there. I've used oxalic, I think, acid, and that's brought out some of the nasty black stuff, but it's not gone. So we'll just see what this does and then do some more sanding. And again, this is part of my experiment on this wardrobe so that I don't actually make too big mistakes with the stuff that really counts. So this is what it looks like. So it's been, I put the stripper on it, and I think this is what the stripper does to exposed glue. Anyway, I may have to take care of that. But wow, what a new piece of wood. And this was a really dark place, and I put that acid on there, but that stripper really helped. I think in the future I'll do first stripper and then the acid. Probably should have done that anyway, but live and learn. But this looks really good. So I'm going to sand it now, and then put some oil on it and see how it looks. Luckily, 2 feet have been found to go on this thing, and imagining that that is the foot. I don't think so, but they'll fit. So let's make them look nice again. There's another problem over here, and that's with a very large split down the side, but it's not a split that goes all the way down. It stops about halfway, well, a little more than halfway. So I'm thinking about some sort of epoxy on that. And then, as I got inside here, you can see some real damage here that I'm going to have to take a look at. So what I'm going to try to do is dig this out, give it some shape, and then put another piece of wood in there and color it and try to match these grains across here. I can match this up. I might not be deep enough yet, but I'm going to just see if I can match this thing up to that hole. So it's going to. Just using a bit of 180 grain sandpaper here. Just a light sanding. I'm not trying to take this down to wood. Just trying to get something that's going to allow me to hide that plug. And there's almost no pressure put on this. Just going back and forth. I didn't like it. I don't think I can bring the sides together. I don't see that happening. So I'm going to put some weight here and then drop some tape off the other side and then drop some epoxy in here. So the first attempt with the epoxy is okay. So a few places here need a little bit more, and then we'll scrape it off and see where we go from there. And in the meantime, I've decided that this back, while I probably won't fix the cracks in it like this, it is a nice piece of wood and it's nicely beveled. So I'm going to sand it and then put it in some transparent oil because it just kind of deserves it. Getting this glue off. Well, now this is pretty much free of glue and junk. I want to keep that see-through nature of this so I don't have to color it in. And so then I might go up to grits of, just on this part, of maybe 400, even 600 or 800, and see if we can't keep that. That's a pretty good gouge there. See if we can't just sand them out. This is, I've just put some turpentine or some mineral spirits on this. This has retained some of its opacity. A couple places here that I might fill in a little bit better. So this is probably pretty close to the original color. It would be a little darker than this, but I think with the oak stuff I've got, I think it'll probably be the wash that I've got, the stain that I've got. It should be okay. I did a piece here yesterday, and that looks on the video redder than it is. It's more brown. So I'm hoping I can get that effect. So I did all this top part here. I just sanded it and then put one layer of that stuff on it, and it looks okay. It doesn't look too dark. This piece here, though, you can see that's just going to be way too dark. So I'm going to have to sand that down again, and take care of that. There was a terrible scratch here. You can still kind of see it. It was kind of a hook here. That's come out pretty well. I'm just one step away from putting some stain on this. That was a really big divot. I hope that it will, I'll be able to sand it down and it will pretty much disappear. But you know, they're just these things. Some of these things you just can't get out. I'm turning my attention to some of these, and if I can get those out with sort of 400 grit, it's coming along, but it's a lot of work. So here's the first coat on here. It looks okay. It's a little redder than what it's showing up here, but the sides here are coming out very nice. I mean, it's not really dark at all. The bottom one here, this side one looks really nice. I think just one more coat on there, and then here in the middle, I mean, we don't want to do too much here, but I've filled in some pretty substantial scratches here, and we'll see how those work out. Keep making the same mistakes, and I started with sandpaper on this, and then I went over to steel wool. Of course, the steel wool works much better. I put some turpentine on it just to clean it off and everything, so that's getting some air. And now I'm going to turn my attention to these things and give them a good cleaning and take that wax off the back. This one has more. And get those tiny little nails out of there, and maybe go get some tiny little nails, or maybe save them. That would be cool. I'm kind of declaring defeat here, and I just couldn't get this cleaned. So I have put stripper on everything. I found some, look at that, some places where this is not quite as secure as it should be. So I'm going to take some glue, some wood glue, and just work it under here, work it under there, and then I'll put 2 clamps on this and make sure that that's going well. Okay, so that's all done. And this one too, glue's all cleaned up. And I think we'll just clean these up today. Just get them really good and clean. Maybe go over them with quadruple aught steel wool. Just a few little last minute improvements here. There was a little, this is going to be the top. You can see this is the top of the door, and that's just a bit of a divot out, and I put some wood putty there, and this is coming along, and I think that'll be okay in the end. Come across the fact that there are some really gritty parts here in the corners, and they're full of gunk, and maybe some of that's glue. I think a lot of it's just junk. A lot of it is paint stripper that I've been using. Probably getting down in there. It's probably the white bits, and you don't want that. And then, you know, there's just all kinds of stuff. It is so irritating to be an amateur. So I have this plug that I put in here and carefully managed and made with tender loving care. I am taking out, and I have put it in the dye, and I've done all kinds of stuff, and it's the problem was it's the wrong kind of wood. And I just removed, I think, some teak, and this is some teak with some thinner on it. I think it's teak. And boy, that matches up a whole lot better than this. Gosh, that could be pine, as far as I know. So I'm gonna bite the bullet, and I'm gonna put a chunk of this in, not this one, but I'm gonna put a chunk of this in there. So I was putting this plug in this hole, and it was all going very well, or at least as well as could be expected. And I stuck it in, and it was kind of tight, a little too tight. So I tried to pull it out and it cracked it. So that's been gluing. It just never ends. Anyway, here earlier I talked about some of these gaps that we had here. Actually, that doesn't look so good. But they've been filled in and sanded down. And those look really good now. All 8 of them. Also over here. Those have all been done. And those look good. I might sand that one down just a little bit more, but they look good. Well, here it goes. I got my block here, and I've mixed some wood glue with shavings from this wood, sawdust. Gosh, couldn't find the name. I couldn't remember what it was called. So we're going to hammer that down, and you can see it coming out there. Good. And then we'll just clean that up, and then tomorrow I'll take it down. It's still a little bit raised, but it's glued in place. It is pretty much in line, not completely, but it's at least the grain is going the same way. And once this gets color on it, then it'll look right. The end is kind of in sight in a way. I'm taking these very brittle feet here and making sure that those big holes that are being drilled in them are filled in. So I'm doing that with epoxy. Some of this epoxy that I have left over as a wood filler here. You can see where worms have been munching on this. There's just a couple small spots like this where you can see worms have gotten to it. Well, it's been a while since I made a recording. I've just been so busy getting these things sanded down, but that's what they're starting to look like now. This polyurethane, water-based polyurethane, I think it looks really good. And so we've done this, and done this side, all down that side, and the top there, all down this side, and this top bit, and the very top here. Tall Dutch people will see that. And still putting a little bit on here, just some repairs here. I wish I could have covered them a little bit better, but they're still rather more prominent than I wanted them to be. Here are the doors. They are ready to go. They are tacked down, they are dusted and ready to go. A lot of damage on this one. I hope that the damage is hard or impossible to see, but you can see bits and pieces there where I've had to use filler and colors, and then here I used a piece of teak to get in there, but it's still a beautiful door and looks great. So we're gonna start putting the polyurethane on this as well now. So the doors are looking quite good. Some of the things that were repaired, looking okay. I mean, all this external wood looks all right. I never figured out what this bump was. I figured it was a nail or something under there, but so you can still see some of the scratches, but a lot of them are out. That looks better in real life, but here is pretty contrasted. This is from the original, and that's now being put in the polyacrylic. And I made one. I made a matching one because we were missing one, and it's on the ground over here because I threw it here out of disgust. The grain is going the wrong way. It just doesn't look that good. It's just a lot of work there. But I have a nice piece of wood here. I think it's a piece of teak. And I've mapped it out on there, the measure, and I'm going to try to, it's a little bit thick, I'm going to try to get one of those out of this. Just put a hole for a dowel in the four corners. And then those things are here. And so these have been also put in the polyurethane, and this is a back piece, this is a side, and so they can just go in like that, and then they can be glued, or they can just maybe be nailed, just like one small nail through there. But leaving them off like this will make it easier for transport. Just a look over here. The back here is in good shape, but I didn't really do much to it. I took some 40 or 60 grain, no, it was 100 grain sandpaper and sanded it down a little bit, just got some of the nastiness off of it, and then put some furniture cleaner stuff on it. One thing stands out with this is this. I've just messed with it again, and that scratch is really a problem. So I've been fixing that, but for the rest, this is pretty much done. It needs a little bit of cleaning. Still got some dust on it. Well, that's fine. Putting it back together, this popped up, and you can clearly see that it's just being cobbled together with bits and pieces of wood that have been laying around someone's shop. Here you see that these screws, they've got to come out. You know, that's if you're going to use this for linen or something like that, something's going to catch on these screws, so those have to be taken off. But this is what you see, so I'm going to strip this and take care of it. And I think we're on the last steps. Okay, looks all right. It's all back together. Okay, so it's all done. The top here I made much lighter because Dutch people are tall, and you can see it. So I finished it, and it's made much lighter. There was a lot of bowing and splitting that's being filled in with epoxy here and sanded, and then I put brass nails to hold it down, and that should still allow it to expand. It's not glued down. So the top is done. The big chunk out of the front has been filled in with some teak, and that's as close as I could get the coloring. Bits and pieces here, scratches, some of them came out, some of them didn't, and it was just a learning process, but they do look very pretty, and this up here turned out okay. And one of the things that was cracked, this was missing, so this is another piece of teak that's being shaped to fit and to match this other side. So it's pretty close. It's pretty close. These sides were split and cracked and broken. So this is a slightly wider, but the color on this one matched well here. On the other side though, the color is darker. This whole right side is a darker, is a lighter side. And then this bit here, this is filled with epoxy, and you can actually see through it. You can see your fingers moving on the other side. I didn't try to bring this together. I just repaired it. The back, you've already seen the back, and the feet. Oh dear, the feet. That was a real big. The feet are not glued on, not yet, to make it easier to move. But once they're moved, then these feet are easy to take off and easy to glue. And of course, you've seen the work that's being done on the feet. And then the last little bit, the key. There we go. The one other thing that has been done on the inside, oh gosh, look at all the sawdust. I'm gonna have to clean that sawdust out. These are just being cleaned, and the front was redone. These drawers have been redone. They were very red, and I don't know where all that dust came from, so that's going to have to be vacuumed up. It may have just settled from what we were doing before. So some of these screws and things were redone so that they wouldn't catch on linen and that kind of thing. But this is a pretty rough, cheap piece of wood, and so you get what you got. So that's it.